Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to watch another video here at All I See Is W. Today, this video is to talk about the top 3 Bitcoin mining stocks that I believe have the potential to break out in the rest of 2024 through 2025. I'll give you my reasons why I believe these 3 miner stocks have the potential to break out significantly, especially with the market sentiment in Bitcoin. Just with Bitcoin surpassing $100,000 in early December, that's really changing the market sentiment right now. All the countries, we have China, Asia, Europe, Russia, South America, North America, you name it. All these countries are trying to get into Bitcoin to build on their strategic Bitcoin reserve. And that's really a reflection of power. Whoever has the most Bitcoin in their reserve by country will have the most power, given the fact that Bitcoin is scarce. So, what does that mean? That really changes the dynamic of what we look at when we look at the Bitcoin mining sector. When you look at the prior administration, the last 4 years, there's just been heavy shorting going on Bitcoin mining stocks. So what does that mean now that we have a shift? It's a paradigm shift. Now there's a dependency on these miner stocks, especially with Donald Trump backing up North American made mining companies, where these companies are able to mine. And what does that mean? Well, if let's say companies are able to mine, they can partner up with the government, build on the reserve, and get credits from the US government. That may be a potential that's coming out. That's why I think companies that have a high HODL Bitcoin reserve and Bitcoin miners that can mine at a high throughput at this time, these companies will benefit. The larger scale companies with the bigger infrastructure has more value at this time. So I'll give you my reasons why I think these Bitcoin miners are set to dominate, especially in this growing dynamic. And what really comes down to it is how companies are able to have an advanced, improved operational efficiency, mining at a low cost, building on having a low debt ratio on their balance sheet, so taking away all the debt that they possibly can and just continue to have more Bitcoin on their balance sheet, whether that's through mining or even potentially acquiring more Bitcoin. So we'll talk all about that, but I'll give you my 3 Bitcoin miner stocks at this time. So first, let's take a look at the overall prices here. So what we see in blue would just be representative of MicroStrategy. We know that MicroStrategy throughout the year, it at one point got up to 800%. What we see in pink here, what we see in purple is CleanSpark, and what we see here is like turquoise here. When you compare these miners to overall MSTR, congratulations to MSTR investors. You've done such a great job. You're the workhorse. We see that these miners, they haven't taken off yet here. So it's still at the basement low. But the question is, how much longer will these miners stay at the basement low? This is from a zoomed out perspective. And I believe that just from a technical standpoint, I think that there's been a lot more profit taking going on with MSTR. In fact, we saw MSTR not going up so high on Friday when the price of Bitcoin was going up, but we saw that the miners did exceptionally well. Money is now circulating from this top category down into the miner sector, especially because Bitcoin depends on these miners. Without the miners, Bitcoin would not survive, and vice versa. And that is why I think these 3 companies, when it comes to Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark, these are the top 3 companies to watch out for in its share price, in its rise, in its market capitalization. Now, looking at just overall companies that have Bitcoin. So the number 1 workhorse right now is MSTR, led by Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor has 402,000 Bitcoin on their reserve. That is just the number one workhorse here. And out of all sectors, you have private companies, you have governments in purple here, you have smart contracts, you have ETFs, so like Vanguard, all the financial institutions just creating ETFs and loading up on Bitcoin. But when we look at the light blue sector here, private companies, MSTR fits in that category as a number one company with Bitcoin on the reserve. They're buying Bitcoin at like half the price, and just recently they acquired more Bitcoin at like 95,000. The number one Bitcoin miner right now would be Mara. They have close to 35,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they just recently took two $2 billion loans with 0% interest, and they acquired more Bitcoin at like 97,000, and that's what totaled up to about 35,000. So that is the number two overall company that's focused on having Bitcoin on the reserve, although they are number one right now as a Bitcoin miner with the HODL Bitcoin reserve. Now, the next Bitcoin miner that has the most Bitcoin on their reserve would be Riot Platforms. That's RIOT. They actually have 11,425,000 Bitcoin. So they didn't take a loan to buy Bitcoin. They've actually earned all of this Bitcoin through mining, through rewards to validate transactions on the blockchain. Now, when you look at number four North American country that has the amount of Bitcoin, that's Tesla. So when you think about it, Mara, Riot has more Bitcoins than Tesla, even more than the Coinbase platform. Coinbase has about 9,000 Bitcoins. Now, the next company up would be a Bitcoin miner company, and that is CleanSpark. CleanSpark, out of all the North American miners, CleanSpark is ranked number 3 on their HODL. They have 9,297. So when you factor all of this in here, just looking at the top 3 Bitcoin miners, what we're looking at here is a little bit old data compared to what we just saw. Mara ranks number 1 here with Bitcoins. Riot, they actually are number 2 with their HODL here. CleanSpark is ranked number 3. So that is why I believe these top 3 companies have the value here, because they have the most amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and 2, they are the companies that can mine Bitcoin at the highest throughput. I think those are the 2 variables that I'm factoring in as to why these Bitcoin companies are really going to do well in 2024, 2025, at least given the fact that we have the leader president backing up North American countries. So of course, when that all starts, these big name companies will benefit first than the undervalued hidden gem miner companies, and competition would be a lot less for these top known reputable big 3 miners because they have the infrastructure, the branding set in place already. Now let's just go more into the details I'd like to share here. So we're looking at X here, and Mara, they're close to breaking through their 50 exahash milestone. So they're at like 48 out of 50, and that was like 2 days ago. So I'm thinking come end of the year, we're going to see Mara reach that huge milestone here, and that's why they were able to announce the amount of Bitcoins mined in the month of November at like close to 900 Bitcoins mined. That's like record news, especially with the recent halving. So no other company can mine as much as Mara at this time, and Mara has also taken on the MSTR playbook by acquiring Bitcoin. So their focus is to get more Bitcoin, acquire it until it runs out. Even if it costs us a little bit more, we're willing to sacrifice it because we believe, we have the conviction that Bitcoin at one point will have 2 commas on the fair value price. It will likely break through $1 million in the long run. So let's just buy now and later benefit on the positive return on the price appreciation. Now, let's take a look at some news with Riot here. So Jason Les is the CEO of Riot Platforms. And just recently here, there was a comment here from Sam. Not only could a strategic Bitcoin reserve significantly reduce our national debt, it could also increase our economic leverage over China and Russia. So with just all the politics going on right now, right, we know United States, we don't like Russia, we don't like China. And in order for us to gain that power over these big name countries, we definitely need to have Bitcoin as the US powerhouse. So, what does that mean? The government in the United States is going to depend on the top Bitcoin miners to help the government add value, build on the Bitcoin strategic reserve. And that's why I'm banking on these 3 Bitcoin miners to really benefit from that, especially just with the game theory going on, with politics going on right now. And just to give you more details here, just on the overall picture here, from Bitcoin Ballet here, this is what a 100 megawatt of hashing looks like. And there are 3 buildings just like it on site. Each new building is better and more efficient than the last, with lessons learned at every step. In total, they are mining Bitcoin with 400 megawatt here. Where is this? So this is the Corsicana site here, and there's recent deployment. They have about 15 exahash going on, but that's just partial until they fully implement their mining fleet at Corsicana. The exahash is just going to increase right now. Overall, the current exahash at Riot is about 30. So I think that there's just so much room for growth, especially with everything being bigger in Texas. And that's why I think that Riot is really going to dominate here. And the unique thing that I like about Riot is that they mine at a very low cost compared to a lot of the miners. When you look at their balance sheet, they do not have much debt when you compare it to other Bitcoin miners. They focus on low cost mining, increase operational efficiency, having consistent mining, even though their mining capabilities isn't compared to like Mara or CleanSpark, but they also have a low debt on their balance sheet. Given the fact that they have a lot of liquidity, cash on hand, and investing in other companies like Bitfarm, they have that liquidity to make an acquisition, especially just with the demand for mining at this time. Now, let's just take a look at an announcement from the executive from CleanSpark. Now, what's interesting is that CleanSpark, their strategy is that their focus is not on buying Bitcoin. They earned every Bitcoin mined on the blockchain and not one single step by accident. So their strategy is continue to increase that exahash. And currently they have a exahash of like 33. I think they're bolstering up their rise in exahash. And I think at one point they will likely break through mining close to about 700 Bitcoins per month. Recent announcement, they mined 622 Bitcoins in November. So just with that context, this is why I believe that because there's so much demand in Bitcoin miners right now with the money flows, profit taking from like MSTR going into Bitcoin mining, the government supporting these Bitcoin miners, this is really going to change the dynamics, and as a result, shareholders of these companies here can easily get like big return on cash flow. And the fact that most shorters, they try to find a hedge, they might go long on these type of companies that have the hodlers, but they might short the ones that don't have an increased load of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So that is a hedge that we should factor in. But that is why I think that these big name, the big 3, if you will, miners, I'm thinking that they have that potential to 3 to 5x as we head into the new year. So that's my overall assessment on the 3 top Bitcoin miners as to why I believe these companies are really going to benefit with its share price. So there you have it. Now, if you're new to this channel, please make sure to hit the like, subscribe for more related content. Please leave your comments, questions down below. Thank you.